Remember, no one, and I mean no one, comes into our house and pushes us around.
What are we waiting for? Take it!
Jerry.
Well, we just don't have enough time for that.
Kevin.
Ben is unique. These guys are unique. Their championship runs, this one's unique.
This is Running Up the Score.
This is Running Up the Score. It is Wednesday, November 23rd. I'm Jerry Napolionello. Man, this football season has been nothing but fun, but these refs have been brutal. We'll discuss everything football, and the NHL just released the name and logo of the new expansion team. We'll discuss that and what we think about it. And I'm going to let you know who I think is one of the worst organizations in the NFL. And no, it isn't who you think. It's not the Browns. I'll let you know when we start this show. Join in with the conversation through the next hour by calling in at 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. But first, we'll get into some things, obviously, big things in the NFL. We have Thanksgiving. This is the point in time in the NFL season where you basically see what these teams are going to do. You basically know what these teams are going to do, know where these teams are going to be. We know who's probably going to be in the playoff hunt and who's not. We could start to eliminate some teams already, maybe not mathematically, but realistically. But, first, let's talk about a team that, basically I just teased it real quick, and I just want to get into it real quick. One of the worst organizations in the NFL. And like I said, it's not the Browns because, we all know that that's the worst. But how about the Jets? The Jets are a team that they can't get out of their own way. And, I obviously, I live in New York. I'm around a lot of Jet fans, and I feel bad for them, obviously. Giant fans obviously don't feel bad for the Jets fans. But, as a Cowboy fan, I have nothing against the Jets. For some reason, the Jet fans have something against Cowboy fans. I don't know. But the way that they go about things is just totally idiotic. Now, obviously, we're talking about the quarterback position mostly with the Jets when it comes to the Jets. And they had one of their best seasons last year. They did have a weak schedule. And we kind of figured that this team was going to have a hard time this year. Obviously, because we looked at their schedule, and their schedule was obviously they were a better team last year, so you're going to get a harder schedule this year. And it was very hard, but the thing is, they're just not a good football team right now. Their quarterback is just not a good quarterback. Ryan Fitzpatrick is not a good quarterback, and it's like beating a dead horse over here. I've been saying it since the offseason when it comes to Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I was glad that the Jets did what they did. They didn't, basically hand over the money that Ryan Fitzpatrick wanted. They didn't give him the years that he wanted, which I was happy for. I was happy for the Jets and their fans. For some reason, they were, I don't even know what to say about the Jet fans when it comes to last year and their 10-6 record and Ryan Fitzpatrick playing the best he's ever had in his whole NFL career and probably ever will play in his NFL career. But maybe they were, in a trance. I don't know. And I guess it was basically because Geno Smith was the backup, and I guess anything's better than that. And I'm not saying that. I thought Geno Smith probably was the better pick out of him and Ryan Fitzpatrick, and that's not saying much. Obviously, that's not saying much, because Geno Smith is not really that great of a quarterback, but neither is Ryan Fitzpatrick. And the fact that they are starting Ryan Fitzpatrick this week against the Patriots is idiotic. And this just adds to how bad this organization is. So when it comes to the Jets, this is the reason why I say they are one of the worst organizations in the NFL, behind the Browns. Because they do stupid things. Your season is over. What are you playing for? You're playing for next year. You're playing for the year after that. You're playing for the future. So you draft these quarterbacks the last 3 years or whatever it was. You have Bryce Petty. You have Christian Hackenberg. Now, don't get me started with Christian Hackenberg. And I feel bad for the Jet fans, because one of the best quarterbacks this year was taken behind Christian Hackenberg in Dak Prescott. But it's not even just on the Jets, because Dak Prescott was taken behind 7 other quarterbacks. So, I just laugh when it comes to that. And you know what? The Cowboys passed on Dak Prescott 3 times too. So, I can't say, anything about it, but it's just hard to look at it as a Jets fan because of, everything that you've seen. But the thing is, with the Jets, they're just not smart with their moves. They like going back to when they were, with Rex Ryan and they were, the ground and pound team. They were going to AFC Championship 2 years in a row. That right there. They were playing well. Obviously, Mark Sanchez isn't as good of a quarterback as, we thought he was, or, was going to be going to the AFC Championships. And I've always said it, because the reason he got there was because of the defense. And their defense was always good. Their defense is getting older now. Darrelle Revis is getting older, and he even said it himself, because he was getting beat week after week. So when it comes to that, now basically this team is having to, try to go through their offense, and their offense isn't that good. Ryan Fitzpatrick is not good. So, you're not going anywhere this year. It's not happening. It's not. Get it through your skull. And I think the Jet fans know that. They want to see the young guys. Because what is the point in having Ryan Fitzpatrick start this game? Because what happens now? Ryan Fitzpatrick, just say, and I'm not even saying that they're going to win, because they're not, but just say he plays well and maybe gets the win against the Patriots. Then you have to start him next week. And then you have to start him the week after that. It's just not good. It's not good for the team. The Yankees went through this. It's just different now, because, it's different between football and baseball, because baseball, there's 81 games at home. So that's why the Yankees were worried, because they didn't think they would fill the seats. In the NFL, there's 8 games. You have 8 games at home. You're going to fill the seats. It doesn't matter. The Raiders were bad for so many years. They still sold out their stadium. The Browns still get fans. They're 0-11. So when it comes to football, it's a totally different beast than it is in baseball. So I understand with the Yankees, yeah, they're worried. They were worried. But they still choked it up, and they started the rebuild. The Jets have to start the rebuild. They're not at that win now anymore. They're not. Ryan Fitzpatrick's not good. Brandon Marshall's old. Eric Decker's getting there. He's hurt. Constantly hurt, actually. Their defense is getting old. They lost one of their best players this year in Snacks. Mo Wilkerson, I mean, that whole team, it's just, it's time to move on to the future. It is. Because as long as Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are with the Patriots, they're not sniffing the division win. They're not. So this is why I say that this is one of the worst organizations in the NFL, because they have to learn. And just the whole, the whole front office of this team is just in shambles. Woody Johnson is just, I don't even know what to say about him. Todd Bowles, he had a good year last year, but, was it because of him? I don't know. Todd Bowles, for some reason, just gets on my nerves. I don't know what it is. It's just, maybe it's his voice and just the way he's, like, so nonchalant with everything. He kind of gets on my nerves. And it's all, it's a lot different because being that I work at Sirius Radio and I'm an audio editor, so every Sunday I'm working on press conferences. I'm listening to Todd Bowles just talk and talk and talk and talk. It's just, I don't know what it is. About him, it annoys me. At least with Bill Belichick, he's nonchalant, but he doesn't talk much. So, it's not. But yeah, that's what I had to say about the Jets and their idiotic moves. But we had an NHL team. Finally, they named the expansion team. They come out with the logo, the colors, and I'm actually pretty excited. The team is now the Vegas Golden Knights, and for some reason they had some infatuation with Knights. I mean, there was ideas floating around. We had the Black Knights, we had the Silver Knights, the Night Hawks. There was a bunch of them, and the Nighthawks were the front runner as close as when was this article? August 25th. So now we are official. I'm excited to see how this whole thing goes down. I want to see how the roster is made. I want to see what goes on with this, and I'm actually pretty excited to see how this goes. I want to see who goes there, and I just want to see the process of how these players are going to go to this team and how they're going to work each team and, all of that. Because I remember when it first came out that they were, that they approved it, that there will be an expansion team. And I went on the show. Obviously, at that time, it was the Tom and Jerry Sports Show. But I went on the show and I kind of just went into detail about how they were going to do it and how the teams were going to have to give up players and, the stipulations behind giving up the players. So, this whole experience, this whole process is going to be exciting to see for the NHL and for the fans of the NHL and for Las Vegas. I mean, this is great. Las Vegas has always had the UFC, and they've done so well with the UFC, obviously. But adding an actual professional sports team to Las Vegas is going to be exciting. I can't wait to see what happens. And, I don't think this is going to be the last team that goes to Las Vegas. I have a feeling that baseball will end up getting a team in Las Vegas. And I can even see an NFL team, maybe the Raiders. We'll see. But we're going to take a break. I'm going to get into some other things. We had a whole bunch of stuff. I want to talk about, how the NFL is doing abroad, playing outside of the United States. I want to talk about, a funny thing what happened with Sterling Shepard and Ezekiel Elliott, and also talking about the Cowboys. Is Dak Prescott having the best rookie season ever? We'll discuss all of that when I get back. You're listening to Running Up the Score on Zeno Live.
Cyberstation USA is the future of radio. Get your business into the online future at the world's largest internet radio station. From banner placement on our homepage to any of our broadcaster stations, commercials on our video player, audio spots on any of our shows, or at the beginning of any of our on-demand broadcasts. Cyberstation USA offers competitive rates with a worldwide reach, a fully integrated one-stop-shop social media broadcast platform. For more information, please contact our sales department at cameo@cyberstationusa.com.
Follow the NFL this season on Running Up the Score.
All Noise Radio. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
My heart, it beats like a bass drum. Come on, let me get some. Never gonna back down. Never gonna break one bend. Now, tonight there's gonna be a showdown. Tonight there's gonna be.
We are back, Running Up the Score, 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. We would love to hear what you guys have to say, maybe about what I was talking about before with the Jets being one of the worst organizations in the league. And then the NHL expansion team, the Vegas Golden Knights. And then I want to hear what you have to say about what I'm about to talk about. How about the NFL playing abroad? Obviously, I've made it known, I don't like it. I really don't like it, especially playing in London. I mean, you have a 9:30 a.m. game, and I know they're trying to push it back to a 1 o'clock game, which would be, I believe it's a 6 o'clock game there. But just the fact that they just, are now thinking about making it a 1 o'clock game is just ridiculous. But it doesn't help the sport. I mean, I know it puts money in your pocket. You're getting people in London, go to the game, blah, blah, blah. But it's just bad for the game on the field. These teams have to, fly all these hours to London and then play. It's just it knocks you off of your regimen, I guess you could say, for a game. It takes away a home game for one of them. It takes away it just. Overall, I think it's bad for the game on the field. It might be good for the NFL itself and the money that it makes and the, basically putting the NFL out there. But the NFL is everywhere. Everybody knows about it. I mean, just look what happens when you go to London and stuff like that. You don't have to have a game there. People still watch the games. So, that being said, the game in Mexico City, I was fine with it because it's not that far. It's not going to throw you off your regimen. It's not going to be that much of a hour difference. I thought it was good. I thought it was basically a home game for the Raiders. The whole laser pointing thing was bad, and it's bad for the NFL and. Obviously, now you have to check for that. But, I mean, other than really Mexico City, I mean, I don't really ever remember seeing laser pointers at a game. So I can't even say that, we really got to crack down on that. It's, this is one of the first times, or if not the first time that I actually saw the laser pointing happen. But I don't think it's that much of an epidemic that we have to really check for it. I don't think it's going to happen again. But just overall, football in Mexico City, I thought it was great. London, I don't like it. Mexico City, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not far. So it wasn't killing the teams, and it actually turned out to be a good game. It really did. The only bad thing about the game was the refs. And we really have to get this fixed because these are things that are ruining teams' seasons. I mean, this could potentially knock the Texans out of the playoffs. I don't think it's going to, but it potentially can. Because we don't know what was going to happen. We don't know. Yeah, he was going. DeAndre Hopkins was going to score a touchdown. He was. But the thing is, we don't know what would have happened. We don't know even if the Raiders would have scored a touchdown. Like, whatever it was, we don't know if this would have went into overtime. But just the fact that the refs screwed up. And to me, I've always been, get the play right. Replay. Now, I'm not saying replay everything. That's not what I'm saying. But if you replay plays that are crucial to a game, one of the biggest things, and I've always said this, was pass interference. And I don't like the call. I think, in my mind, I think we should go to the college rules. In it being a 15-yard penalty, that's it. Not a spot foul. With the pass interference can end a season, can end a game. So that's why I feel like it literally, pass interference is a game changer. And in my mind, if you want to stick with how it is right now, then you have to replay that. You have to. You have to make sure that actually was a pass interference. You cannot give a team an easy 20, 30 yards because you thought it was a pass interference. When in reality, if you look at the replay, it wasn't. But that's it's kind of knocking me off of what I was trying to say with the refs. Now, referees, everybody's been talking about how we should maybe get full-time refs. And I'm not opposed to it. I do believe, you'll lose some of these refs because they don't want to make it a full-time job. But I'm not opposed to it. I can back that. If it's going to make the product on the field better by having full-time refs, I'm all about it. But we have to fix this. We have to fix this product on the field when it comes to the refs. We have to. This can't happen again. This can't happen anymore. So, moving on. Now, I wanted a quick story. I saw it on Twitter. Sterling Shepard, the rookie wide receiver from the Giants, posted a picture on Instagram of him and his teammates. I think it was Odell, Eli, a bunch of other players, Victor Cruz. And his caption was, I think it was Dem Boys. DEM Boys. Now, knowing the NFL and the teams and everything like that, the Cowboys for the last 2-3 years have been calling themselves, obviously, they're the Cowboys, so they've been basically, their big saying has been, we dem boys. So seeing this picture and seeing the comments of this picture was Ezekiel Elliott. And Ezekiel Elliott basically let Sterling Shepard know that that's the Cowboys. And Sterling Shepard wasn't happy about it. But I thought it was funny. And, moving on, talking about the Cowboys, I want to talk about Dak Prescott. And everybody's been talking about Dak Prescott and how he's in the MVP race and how he's got this Cowboys team to 9-1. And actually here is, this is the comment that Ezekiel Elliott had. That's us, bum, LOL. And Sterling Shepard answered back with an emoji of the straight face. But back to Dak Prescott. Is he having the best rookie year ever? Now, the top 10, basically, rookie years of a quarterback are as follows. Number 10, Peyton Manning. They struggled. That team, he struggled early in the season. I think he ended up with 28 interceptions. He did 28 interceptions. He played 16 games. He was the first pick overall, obviously. He threw 11 interceptions in the first 4 games with just three touchdowns. He turned it around, and he actually put up a decent season, obviously, other than the 28 interceptions. He had 16 games played, a 56.7 completion rating, 3,739 yards, 26 touchdowns, 28 interceptions, and 62 rushing yards. Number 9, they have Jameis Winston. He was the number 1 pick also. He had a bad game the first game, obviously playing up against the number 2 pick in that draft, Marcus Mariota, in the first game of the season. But he actually put together a very good season. 16 games played, 58.3 completion rating, 4,042 yards, 22 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, 54 carries, 213 yards, and 6 rushing touchdowns. Great season for a rookie, Jameis Winston. Number 8, Andy Dalton. He was taken in the second round. He was the 35th pick. Put them into the playoffs. The Bengals went 9-7. The Colts ended up going back to Peyton Manning's season. They went 3-13. The Buccaneers for Jameis Winston went 6-10 in 2015. Again, 2011 Bengals went 9-7. Dalton was the 35th pick. They went to the playoffs that year. 16 games played, 58.1 completion percentage. 3,398 yards, 20 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 152 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. Then 7, you had Andrew Luck, 2012 Colts. They went 11-5. He was the first pick overall. They lost in the wild card round to the Ravens. His rookie season was as follows: 16 games played, 54.1 completion percentage, 4,374 yards, 23 touchdowns, 18 interceptions, 255 rushing yards, and 5 rushing touchdowns. Then you had 6, Matt Ryan. He played 16 games, 61.1 completion rating, 3,440 yards, 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Dan Marino in 1983, he played 11 games, 58.4 completion percentage, 2,210 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Then you had 4, Russell Wilson, who went in the 3rd round. He was the 75th pick overall. He played 16 games, beating out Matt Flynn that year, and Matt Flynn got some big-time money coming from the Packers that year, and Russell Wilson just beat him out outright. 16 games played, 64.1 completion percentage, 3,118 yards, 26 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 4 rushing touchdowns. Then you had 3. You had Cam Newton, who had a beast of a year. The team didn't have that great of a year, 6-10. He was the first pick overall. And he played 16 games, 60.0 completion percentage, 4,051 yards, 21 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, 14 rushing touchdowns. Robert Griffin III was the number 2. He was number 2 overall behind Cam Newton. He had a great season, 15 games played, 65.4 completion percentage, 3,200 yards, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. How the tides have turned. That year, they went to the wild card round, going 10-6, lost in the wild card round. And then number 1 is Ben Roethlisberger. Obviously, everybody knows that number 1 is Ben Roethlisberger. And he went 14 games, 66.4 completion percentage, 2,621 yards, 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and 1 rushing touchdown. The thing is, they went 15-1 that year. They lost in the AFC Championship to the Patriots. And Ben was the 11th pick. Now, the latest pick out of all of these guys was Russell Wilson at 75. Now, I'm going to get into the rest of Dak Prescott's numbers and everything like that, and then I'll get into picks and predictions. You're listening to Running Up the Score.
Cameo Entertainment Group and Cyberstation USA are now part of Stitcher, a free radio app for your smartphone. With Stitcher, you can listen to live programming as well as archive radio programming right on your phone. To obtain Stitcher, just go to the App Store for your particular phone. Go to search, then type in Stitcher. That's Stitcher, S-T-I-T-C-H-E-R. S-T-I-T-C-H-E-R. Then download. It's that simple. Stitcher, a free radio app for your smartphone. Convenient access to live and archived Cyberstation USA programming on your mobile phone. That's Stitcher, S-T-I-T-C-H-E-R. Cyberstation USA, always on the go.
Follow the NFL this season on Running Up the Score.
All Noise Radio. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Fight till I take my last breath. I got the heart of a warrior, the heart of a warrior. I've been down, I've been out, and I've bled. Yeah. I got the heart of a warrior. Believe. The heart of a warrior.
We are back. Running Up the Score, 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. Call in, or you can tweet us at RUTS Sports on Twitter. Now, as I was saying before we went to the break, I was basically ranking the top 10 rookie quarterbacks, rookie quarterback seasons in NFL history. And we move on to Dak Prescott now. Dak Prescott, the 135th pick. 7 quarterbacks went before him, and I will name them right now. Jared Goff, who just finally played his first game last week and got a loss. Carson Wentz, who has played all season for the Philadelphia Eagles, who is probably having the second best rookie season out of the rookies that came into the league this year. Paxton Lynch had 1 game played. Christian Hackenberg hasn't even seen the practice field. It's bad that you can't even get up there to play for the Jets just the way that they've been going. And basically, obviously, I've been talking about the Jets earlier in the show. Jacoby Brissett, who played well in the absence of Tom Brady, but he will not see the field again. Cody Kessler, who's playing decent. He's not playing bad. And obviously he's hurt now. But Connor Cook, who is just, you better sit down, and you're not going to see the field. Not the way that Derek Carr's been playing, not the way that, just Derek Carr's 25. So, he's going to end up having to go somewhere else. And then you have Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, so far, 9-1, played 10 games. His numbers are 67.7 completion percentage. He's got 17 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. and he's got a 108.6 QB rating. That's an amazing season. And obviously, everybody knows that I'm not. And the thing is, I'm not a Dak hater. I'm a pro Romo. But even I know that it's hard to even think about having Romo back in there, starting. I feel bad for him. I really do. And I wasn't able to talk about his press conference, and I'm a little upset about it. But the fact that whole thing went down, and I feel absolutely crushed for Romo. Crushed. Nobody is a bigger Romo fan than I am. And everybody that knows me knows that. People still, I still get texts about Romo, and if I think that Romo should start, and my answer is always the same. You never know what can happen. Now, my thing is, I think the Cowboys should keep Romo. Yes, he's a lot of money. I understand that. But I don't want this to be a one-hit wonder with Dak Prescott. I don't know what we're gonna get for the next couple of years. I mean, this guy, and I'm sure that he's going to have a great career because this guy shows so much poise. He's not rattled. The way that he plays is unbelievable. Right now, the way I've been seeing him is kind of like a Russell Wilson. He's a game manager, doesn't turn over the ball, knows when to run the ball, knows when to throw it away, knows when to take a sack. He doesn't force it. He's smart. He is. And it reminds me of Russell Wilson. And I've always been critical of Russell Wilson, that I don't think he's as good as everybody thinks he is. He's showing that he is better than I thought he was, but I don't think he like elite, and I don't like that word anyway. But I don't see him that way. I felt like he was put in a great position to succeed with probably the best defense ever in the NFL. And at the time, the best running back in the league. That's the way I looked at Russell Wilson. Now, looking at Dak Prescott also was put in a great position to succeed. Absolutely unbelievable front line with the Dallas Cowboys. Absolutely. Nothing better in the NFL. Absolutely great running back, fellow rookie, Ezekiel Elliott. Absolutely great. Great wide receiver in Dez Bryant. Great tight end in Jason Witten. Okay defense. But the offense is what they rely on. The running of the ball is what they rely on. And it's kind of like the same thing with Russell Wilson and how they relied on their defense. So I would love to see how Dak maybe is given the rest of the playbook. And we're starting to see it now. He's starting to he's starting to extend the ball down the field. We're starting to see that more often, especially with the 50-yard touchdown to Dez Bryant earlier in the season. In the Pittsburgh Steelers game, Dez Bryant had 2 touchdowns this past week against the Ravens. I have the calls for those. We'll play those later. But overall, this guy, I think, is going to have, and I think he will surpass Ben Roethlisberger for the best rookie season ever. Now, in my mind, I think he has to kind of get past, he has to at least get to the NFC Championship game, as Ben Roethlisberger did in the AFC. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see what happens the rest of the season. I mean, who knows what's going to happen the rest of the season? They got a huge game on Thanksgiving, huge, and I'll get into that next segment when we talk about this segment when we talk about the picks and predictions. But in my mind, I think Dak Prescott is the real deal. I do think he's a real deal, and I guess the future is now for the Dallas Cowboys. So that being said, it is time for
It's time for Running Up the Score picks and predictions for Week 12.
Week 12 picks and predictions. We'll start off with the Thanksgiving games. We have 3 on tap. The early game, Vikings at the Lions, division rivals, both 6-4. This is going to be a great game. Finally, the first game is going to be a great game. I mean, we've had some great games in the past, but whatever. This is going to be a great game. Vikings 6-4, Lions 6-4. I'm excited. I'm also working that day, and I'm working that game. I'm going to go with the Lions in this one. I don't think the Vikings are as good as we previously thought. They're showing that. They finally got off the snide, winning last week. But I think the Lions come out and win this game. I think Matt Stafford has a very good game. He's having a very good season. And I've always been critical about Matt Stafford. I don't think he's that good, but he's showing that this year. He is very good. I mean, I thought he had to rely on Calvin Johnson, and I was wrong. He's having a great season, an MVP-type season. But now moving on to the best game of the Thanksgiving games. The Redskins, 6-3-1, at the Dallas Cowboys, 9-1. Big game in the NFC East. Big game in the NFC. Kirk Cousins coming off a great game against the Packers, winning that game 42-24, and just basically, as he told his GM, how you like me now? This is big for the Cowboys. This is big for the Redskins. This is even bigger for the Redskins because they have to get back to, basically with the Giants. They have to keep up with the Giants. Giants are on a 5-game winning streak. Cowboys are on a 9-game winning streak. So this is huge game. I'm not going to pick this game, and we all know that. So I just wanted to give a quick preview. Thanksgiving night, Steelers at the Colts. Colts are going to be missing Andrew Luck. So I think this is going to be a complete blowout. I think the Steelers win this game. Cardinals at the Falcons. I think the Cardinals come and win this game. I really do think they win this game. They're coming off a rough loss. I think they win this game. Bengals at the Ravens. Ravens win this one. Jaguars at the Bills. I think the Bills blow out the Jaguars. The Jaguars are just not as good as I thought they were going to be. Titans at the Bears. Jay Cutler out for the season now. I'm going to go with the Titans. I think the Titans are playing very well right now. Giants at the Browns, and I wanted to talk about this game because Josh McCown is going to be playing this game. He is starting for the injured Cody Kessler. And I think this makes it this makes them not a walk in the park. And the Giants should know that, especially the way the Giants have been playing. They are obviously still coming out with the wins, but they're not winning big, and they're keeping the teams in it. And I think Josh McCown being under center for the Browns gives them a better chance than Cody Kessler. And I think it gives them a better chance to win this game. They are 0-11. This is a dangerous game for the Giants. But I'm picking the Giants. Chargers at the Texans. I think the Texans come back after a terrible call that was going to hurt their season. I don't think it will hurt their season. I'm going to go with the Texans over the Chargers. Dolphins definitely winning over the 49ers. I don't even want to go into that game. Saints are definitely going to beat the Rams. Rams still, Jared Goff will be playing his second game, but I think the Saints will win this one. Seahawks at the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers always give the Seahawks a hard time. The Seahawks are, and I've always said this, the Seahawks are a different team on the road. They are. And I still think the Seahawks win. Panthers at the Raiders. Raiders, best team in the AFC right now, 8-2. Panthers 4-6. I think the Raiders still win this game. I think the Panthers make it a close one, though. Patriots at the Jets. Jets, obviously, as I was saying in the beginning of the show, the Jets are one of the worst organizations in the league. And I think because of that and because of why I said it, with Ryan Fitzpatrick starting this game, I think the Jets get absolutely slaughtered in this game. Patriots win this one big. Sunday Night Football, Chiefs at the Broncos, both 7-3. Great game, big one. I think the Chiefs win this one. Coming off a bad loss last week, I think they win this one. Monday Night Football, Packers at the Eagles. Great game. I think the Packers want to win this game because they don't want to get swept by the NFC East. Well, actually, no, they did beat the Giants, so I'm wrong on that one. But I think the Packers, after losing the games that they have lost, losing it huge to the Redskins last week, I think they come out and they win this one against the Eagles. And then we will go to my Lock of the Week.
Running Up the Score presents the Lock of the Week for Week 12.
Lock 'em up. My Lock of the Week is the New England Patriots over one of the worst organizations in the league, in the Jets. And now my upset.
It's time for Jerry and Kevin's Upset of the Week for Week 12.
My upset of the week, I think I am going to go with the Chiefs over the Broncos. I think the Broncos are favored in that game. They're home, so I don't have the line in front of me. But that is what I'm going to go with. That's my lock. That's my upset. Those are my picks. Next up, we have Running Up the Score Fantasy Forecast. Stardoms, sit-ems, sleepers, whatever you got. I'll have them next when we come back after the break. You're listening to Running Up the Score.
This is the evolution of radio.
Cyberstation USA.
Our inventions change us. They make us think differently.
Something new added to the real world.
The leading edge of evolution.
That development has got to be delivered.
CyberstationUSA.com.
The most sophisticated that I've ever seen.
I'm not sure exactly what the future is, but I'm pretty sure it's not going away.
Follow the NFL this season on Running Up the Score.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting founder Dick Robinson.
You know, the media business has changed a lot since we opened our doors in 1964. Now media content is everywhere, on air, online, on the go. More than ever, companies are looking for people to help drive this new media.
At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, you'll get hands-on training on the latest software and equipment in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has placed thousands of grads in broadcast media careers.
It's all about versatility. You see, at a radio station, if you also know how to shoot, edit, and post videos, you become a pretty hot commodity. That's the training you get at Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting with locations up and down the East Coast from Massachusetts to Miami. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Connecticut School of Broadcasting, the nation's oldest and largest group of broadcast media schools, redefining training in radio, TV, and new media. Get trained. Get connected. 1-800-TV-RADIO.
Fantasy, football, fantasy, 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 football, fantasy.
Like an end zone that ends in a waterfall.
A shower that showers you in tiny footballs.
It's a football fantasy like no other.
Like having a best friend that's your quarterback brother.
Fantasy, fantasy, football, fantasy.
Running Up the Score presents Fantasy Forecast.
Football, and you like fantasy football.
That is right. It is time for the Fantasy Forecast. Everything you need to know for the upcoming week in the NFL when it comes to your fantasy teams, full season as well as daily. I obviously don't have another daily fantasy lineup for you guys, but I'm going to give you stardom, sit-ems. I'm going to give you sleepers, and I'll give you some waiver wire pickups that you are going to need this week. Stardoms for the quarterbacks. Marcus Mariota is one. Going up against the Chicago Bears, the Bears have held one quarterback, Sam Bradford, to fewer than 17 fantasy points in their last 4 games, and Mariota has scored fewer than 19 points once in his last 7 games. He's basically a must-start. Russell Wilson. After a dreadful start, the veteran has put together 3 straight games with 24-plus fantasy points. He's even caught a touchdown pass last week. I'd keep him in your lineups against the Buccaneers defense that has struggled against quarterbacks. Dak Prescott is one. He could continue to eat against the Redskins, who have allowed an average of 20.8 fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks over the last 4 games. Look for the Dak attack. Derek Carr probably tops in everybody's MVP voting. When this unit has faced a good quarterback on the road, it is broken down like an old jalopy. I guess I don't know. This is from NFL.com. The sports car should run like a serious champion this week. Derek Carr against the Carolina Panthers. Matthew Stafford Thanksgiving Day against the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings defense has been somewhat less formidable on the road in recent weeks, and Stafford has feasted on defenses on Thanksgiving Day. In fact, he has scored no fewer than 20 fantasy points in his last 4 contests on Thanksgiving. Sleepers could be Colin Kaepernick against the Dolphins and Eli Manning against the Browns. Sits of the week, you have Carson Palmer against the Atlanta Falcons. I did pick the Cardinals to beat the Falcons, so this is up to you. Andy Dalton against the Baltimore Ravens. He is also averages a so-so 16.9 fantasy points in 5 career contests against Baltimore. And with A.J. Green out and most likely out for the season, I think actually it was just it might have been finalized. I don't know. Actually, we have breaking news right now. Jay Cutler's shoulder injury isn't season-ending, and they won't even rule him out for this week. So be on the lookout for that. I think he's going to be out, though. Jameis Winston against the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, we know because he's playing the Seattle Seahawks. Blake Bortles against the Buffalo Bills. Blake Bortles has just been dreadful this year, so keep that in mind. Alex Smith against the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos are still a good defense, and Alex Smith is still a so-so quarterback. Now going on to the running back position. Quickly, running back stardoms. We have Jay Ajayi against the San Francisco 49ers. I think he continues his hot streak. Frank Gore against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's going to be tough for him to run against the Steelers, but I think he has a good game. Thomas Rawls against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He will be starting because of the C.J. Prosise injury. And they released Kristen Michael. Rob Kelly against the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys has a tough time stopping the run here and there. They've been formidable. Spencer Ware against the Denver Broncos. And then the sits, you have Jeremy Hill against the Baltimore Ravens. Doug Martin against the Seattle Seahawks. Isaiah Crowell against the New York Giants, James Starks against the Philadelphia Eagles, Matt Asiata against the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving. We'll move on to wide receiver here. Wide receivers stardoms. We have Doug Baldwin's start of the week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Michael Crabtree against the Carolina Panthers. Larry Fitzgerald against the Atlanta Falcons. Julian Edelman against the Jets because anybody eats against the Jets. Jordan Matthews against the Green Bay Packers. The sit of the week, Terrell Pryor. The G-men have allowed just 2 number 1 wide receivers, Deshaun Jackson and A.J. Green, to score double-digit fantasy points, and 5 of them have been held to fewer than 7 points. Randall Cobb against the Eagles, Tyrell Williams against the Texans, Marvin Jones against the Minnesota Vikings, and Dante Moncrief against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now we move on to the tight end position. Tight ends, start 'em, sit 'em. We have Greg Olsen, start of the week against the Oakland Raiders. Raiders, great team, rough defense. Their defense, I thought, was going to be better this year, but their offense is definitely carrying that team to the 8-2 record that they have. Kyle Rudolph against the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving. Then you have Eric Ebron on the other team against the Minnesota Vikings on Thanksgiving as well. You have Zach Ertz against the Green Bay Packers and Jason Witten against the Washington Redskins. Sit of the week, Travis Kelce against the Denver Broncos. He's never found the end zone in 4 career games against the Broncos and averages just 5.2 fantasy points in those games. Denver has been tough on tight ends this year too, so Kelce could be a difficult pick for the weekend. Kobe Fleener against the Los Angeles Rams, Cameron Brate against the Seattle Seahawks, Jared Cook against the Philadelphia Eagles, and Austin Hooper against the Arizona Cardinals. Now I will give you my sleepers of the week. Sleepers. We have some from Thursday. Sam Bradford could be a sleeper. Adam Thielen is definitely a sleeper. He's been catching touchdowns left and right for the Minnesota Vikings. They don't even throw to Stephon Diggs anymore. It's killing me because he's on my fantasy team. Eli Rogers, wide receiver out of Pittsburgh. Then we have the actual sleepers of the week. Quarterback Colin Kaepernick. Quarterback Carson Wentz, both sleepers. Running backs, Wendell Smallwood, definitely a sleeper. He will be starting for the Philadelphia Eagles because of the injuries to Ryan Matthews and Darren Sproles. Mike Gillislee and Alex Collins are the other running backs that are sleepers. Other wide receiver sleepers, Tyler Boyd from the Cincinnati Bengals, Tajay Sharp from the Tennessee Titans, Ted Ginn Jr., Carolina. Wide receiver, Brandon LaFell from the Cincinnati Bengals. Tight end, Vance McDonald is definitely a sleeper. And defense is the New Orleans Saints. And now going to the football waiver wire that everybody should be looking at if you're having a rough time with some starts this week. Wendell Smallwood, as I said, is a sleeper. He is owned in 0.7 leagues. James Starks, he's owned in 34.6. Rob Kelly, I think, is going to be owned a lot more because of his last week's performance. He's owned so far in 31.6. Dion Lewis, he's owned in 29.1. And then you have Kenneth Dixon, also a guy that you should look at, 9.1% owned. Mike Gillislee, 7.8% owned. Rashard Matthews from the Tennessee Titans, he's owned in 35.2. You have Cameron Meredith is owned in 9.0. Tyler Boyd, Brandon LaFell, both Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers. Tyler Boyd is 0.8% owned, and Brandon LaFell is 10.5% owned. And I am in that 10.5. Then you have Tyreek Hill, wide receiver, Kansas City. Eric Ebron, tight end, Detroit. C.J. Fedorowicz, tight end out of Houston. Colin Kaepernick, quarterback out of the 49ers. Now that will do it for Fantasy Forecast, and that will do it for Running Up the Score. I thought we had a great week, talked about a lot of things, and we will be back next Wednesday talking football, talking sports, talking everything that's going on, especially this week. But as I said, that will do it. Talking sport. We'll be back next Wednesday talking sports once again. As I'm Jerry. Be breezy.
And it is all over!
You've been listening to Running Up the Score on Zeno Radio.